Welcome back to another live and amplified indie fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quat. We're back at it again with another basic podcast. We are smack dab in the middle of our pancreatic cancer fundraiser, and we have our next guest with us. We have Nicky Phillips. How's it going today?
Hi, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely excited to sit down and chat with you. I'm actually really grateful that you messaged me this morning to be like, at like 4 o'clock or whatever it was. By the time I was like, oh yeah, I need to push that back a little bit because my schedule changed a little bit. So
I was really surprised that you messaged back. I thought it must be the middle of the night.
well, you see, the thing is I fell asleep on my couch last night.
Dangerous.
And about 4 o'clock, my back started locking up on me because my couch isn't that comfy. And so yeah, I happened to see your message. So
Oh, it was good timing all around then.
yeah, for sure. So how's everything been going? How's your music been going? I know you released a new single not long ago. How's all that been going?
Yeah, it's been going well, I think, ticking along. I released Without You just back in the summer, and I am working on my next release. I've got a release coming out on the 6th of December. I'm recording the one for after that, so it's kind of like trying to keep on top of the songs that are coming out. But yeah, so I think it's going well. I was getting on playlists and people seem to be enjoying the music, and I think the main thing is I'm enjoying making it, so that's good.
Nice. That's really cool. So you'd mentioned that you got a new single dropping on December 6th. Have you announced anything about it, or what can you tell us about that song?
So I've not announced anything yet, actually. I only put it in for distribution, I think, last week. I submitted it to the distributors, and I was toying between, is it going to come out before Christmas or after Christmas? It's not a Christmas song. So it's always that awkward time of when to release it. But I don't really want to hold on to it until the new year. So I decided the 6th of December is early enough that it's not quite in the festive time. It's called New York. So I don't know, over here, New York is quite often associated with Christmas anyway. So I'm like, wintry vibes. But yeah, so I wrote that, I think last year I wrote the song, and then I've been recording it over the summer, working with producer Joel Schwartz, who's Canadian. And yeah, so that got finalized maybe a month ago, and now it's out will be out for release. I will be announcing it soon. It's on my to-do list.
Fair. So officially everything will come out here in the next couple of weeks, and yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so kind of looking at that, is singles kind of where you see yourself staying for right now, or do you have aspirations of releasing a bigger project? Or
I have very big dreams. So I am working on singles at the moment with Joel. There's one more after this next release, and then there'll be one later next year, just singles. But then I'm just working on a project at the moment, which is an EP of songs I've written on piano, which I'm going to try and self-produce. And I've actually just been organizing. This is like my studio office. I've been bringing my piano upstairs here today because the next 2 weeks I'm going to be recording that EP and trying to do the self-production, and then we'll get it out to a mixing engineer. So that should be released next year.
Nice.
I hope. And I'm writing an album at the moment, which I also hope to start recording next year, but I haven't decided what that's going to look like, if I'll self-produce or work with someone else, or what that will happen. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah. So but this wouldn't be your first EP. You released an EP. I'm guessing it had to be during the pandemic, right? Or at the tail end of it?
It was, yeah, it was at the tail end of it, and I should know the year. I want to say 2021.
Yeah, according to Spotify, that's what it's saying. So
okay, that's good then. yeah. So 2021, yeah, I released my debut EP, which was, it's a bit of a strange thing because I see it as my first ever EP release. I had released an EP when I was at university, but it was sort of before the times that you could get stuff distributed. Spotify was around, I think. But I kind of just did like a bit of a home job of like writing the CDs, putting sticky labels on and decorating it. So that was like it was an EP of songs, but it wasn't properly released. So yeah, 2021 was my first sort of debut EP release, and I did like a whole show around it.
Nice.
And loads of promo. I released a couple of the singles ahead. So I kind of want to do something similar to that with this piano one, in terms of maybe I'll release 1 or 2 singles from it, and then the actual EP. It's hard in the sort of digital releasing climate, because as much as I love the idea of working on a body of work, it sort of favors singles rather than mass, like 5-track releases in one go. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it harder for people to want to sit through an entire full body of work, because you can make playlists and have any song you ever wanted and not have it kind of breaks up that continuous of, okay, I'm sitting down and I'm going to listen to a Nicky Phillips EP and we're going to go track 1 through 5 or whatever it is, so that's the ups and downs of the industry, I guess, at this point. So
yeah, I think so. And I think with the EP, I'm not too worried about the tracks being listened to as individual songs. It's more an EP for me, because I see them as that collection of songs. But I think for that album that I'm working on, I really want it to feel like there's albums that I love that I just want to listen to as a whole, and it's because they have this sort of thread running through them or something to do with the production on them. So I'm hoping that I can sort of key into that and figure that out so that it sounds like it should be listened to together. But
for sure, it's that definitely makes it more interesting and makes it easier. So like when you're out doing shows, it's like you have that physical copy, especially if you're touring all around the UK or just touring consistently and playing in front of new crowds. It's like you got that physical copy, and to me, it just makes sense. So, so as you look into 2025, how are you more focused on writing and recording right now, or are you trying to get more shows booked? Where's kind of your focus right now?
Well, that is a good question. And I should know the answer. I'm kind of steadily writing. I don't think I'm going to focus. I obviously want to finish writing the album. And live shows, yes, but also because I want to go into this sort of realm of self-production, I'm aware that it's going to take me a while to get to grips with that if after this EP I want to push myself further. But live shows, I would quite like to do. I did my first UK tour last year.
Oh, wow.
And I would quite like to do another tour, but maybe something that looks a little bit different, maybe with another artist, or maybe just doing it a different way. You live and you learn. So I did really enjoy it, but there's definitely things I could have done better. And I'm hoping to maybe towards the end of 2025 to do a European tour and hop over to some countries, particularly I'm looking at Germany, maybe the Netherlands. So that would be exciting if I managed to do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think finding somebody else to do it with, like having a co-headline tour or just like a touring with somebody else, it makes the lift and the grind of touring that much easier, I guess is the best way to word it.
Yeah. And I think, it's been nice to have some company.
Yeah.
I think I kind of envy bands that go around sort of touring together, because they obviously have that camaraderie between themselves, and I'm sure they probably don't love sharing a room with each other all the time. But I think something like that, or if I can't find someone that wants to do that, then maybe I might sort of start looking at getting a bit of a band together and sort of create a bit of a bigger show.
Keeps life interesting, at least,
Yeah.
So when did you kind of start taking music as a profession? Like, when did that kind of light switch moment happen?
So I think COVID times during lockdown. So in my sort of university days, it was very heavily songwriting, performing. I managed to change part of my degree so that I could write an EP and sort of go through that. And then I just got carried away with life after university. I got a job, got a career, and I did the odd gig, but only if someone sent it to me and were like, will you play this? And I'd be like, yeah, okay. But then when COVID happened and I looked back over some of my old music and I started writing a lot and connected with Joel, stranger, just a message on Instagram. He liked one of my reels and asked me if I'd ever sort of recorded anything. And it just went from there. And then as soon as I actually managed to record something and release it, I was like, I don't ever want to stop doing that. I don't want to stop sort of writing and performing live. I love all of it. I love the recording, I love the writing, I love the playing and performing. So I suppose that was the light switch. And I did go back to my job after lockdown. I was a secondary school teacher or high school teacher. And they were lovely, my school, and I went down part-time. They gave me Fridays off so that I could gig more at the weekends. And then I think 14 months ago, I left teaching to pursue music full-time, which has had its challenges. I do a lot of covers gigs and weddings and things like that, which I do love doing, but it's kind of exhausting trying to do that and trying to do original music. So I think in 2025, I'm going to dabble a little bit in some part-time teaching again. But I know in my heart of hearts that I'm still going to carry on doing the music. I'm pushing it and keep pushing and seeing what can I do next? What can I do bigger? What can I do better? So yeah.
For sure.
Sorry, I've waffled on there. Does that answer the question?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's really, I've saw had a few musician friends that they went back and like similar situation to you where they were a teacher and then they left to pursue music, and just to kind of give them stability but flexibility, they decided to be a substitute teacher, which
yeah, that's the plan.
It makes sense, because if you want to work and they have an opportunity, you can work. If you don't want to work, guess what? You don't got to work.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, and you're going to get paid. Like that's the issue I've had with cover gigs, is that I'm struggling to get paid for some of them afterwards. Like they just, I've got people involved trying to sort that out, but it's kind of a stress on life that I just did not anticipate. I thought I'd just sort of play, get paid, have a good time. I was maybe a little bit naive. So supply teaching, I think, and I love teaching, and it's kind of without the pressure of all the stuff you get if you are a full-time teacher. And it's not like I'm trying to drive that part of my career forwards. I can just turn up and do a good job and then get on with my music.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things where it's like, I think a lot of people forget that with music, it's one of those deals where, especially if you're dealing with a venue owner that isn't 100% above board, isn't like a straight shooter or whatever it is, they very well could stiff you, and it's going to be a whole process to try and get that money back. And it may end up costing you more money than you were originally going to make.
Yeah, and I think one of my friends recently said that sometimes maybe they think like that we're just doing it for pleasure, which it is something I enjoy, but it's also a livelihood and my job. And if I've sort of agreed to do something and they've agreed something, then it should work both ways. But I'm not saying everyone's like that, but it is a bit strange in the creative world. I think there's a lot more taken for granted.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So, kind of looking forward, obviously, you've got a busy 2025, hopefully more original gigs than cover gigs and whatnot. But outside of music, what do you like to do? What do you like to get into to kind of decompress?
I'm quite a hobbyist. I go through a lot of hobbies. So I like climbing. I'm doing a lot of climbing at the moment, indoor climbing.
Nice.
Because it's not very nice weather outside at the moment. But indoor climbing. I do a bit of aerial circus skills like silks and stuff.
Nice.
Which I've done for quite a few years. Unfortunately, at the moment the class is on a Thursday, and I so often have gigs or something music related on a Thursday, so it's very sporadic when I can make that. But I do have my own rig, so when it's sunny, I can do it in the garden. That I'm walking, hanging out with friends, reading. I do a lot of reading, and I think that's probably it for now. I am looking at possibly getting into a martial arts class, but I haven't decided which yet.
Nice. That's really cool. It's funny you bring up indoor climbing, because that's a thing that seems to be really catching on here in the States.
That's interesting because it's had a big boom here, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with the Olympics coming around. I feel like that might, because feel like over the last few Olympics, there's been more indoor climbing, or maybe it was just this year. I don't know.
No, I think they had it at Tokyo, I think, and then they
Yeah,
definitely did it at, I think it stayed in. I didn't even think about that connection. That does make
yeah.
sense. It's sort of like especially the speed climbing because it's
Mhm.
insane to watch.
Oh yeah.
Um, whether that sparked people getting involved, yeah. And
It
it's,
might.
I don't know, it's an all-weather thing, isn't it? Like it's great
Oh
to
yeah.
have somewhere that you can just, I mean, it's usually like an outdoor activity, but with so many popping up over here, I don't know if it's the same there, but there's loads of
Mm.
bouldering places, climbing places popping up, different companies. So there's loads of choice as well.
Yep, 100%. I work in marketing and advertising, and we've had two or three indoor climbing places that have come to us to try and help market that they're opening or getting ready to open.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so it, it's a
Definitely.
it's a growing thing, to say the least. So
Yeah. Isn't it mad that like things, even though like so far apart geographically, the same sort of almost trends and things are changing. That's really interesting. I
mhm.
thought it was just a fad here, but not that I want to call it a fad. Like it's a great thing for people to want to try out
Yeah.
different exercises and things, and it's good fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it has to do a lot with the internet. Like back years ago, I had a few friends that lived in the UK that I'd met like on AOL or AI, just kind of like we're going way back in time there. But it's just kind of the internet has made the world so much smaller, and I think a lot of fads or trends or new things are kind of, back in the day when it would take some real time for it to get from like the US to the UK or the UK to the US. Now it all happens, so quickly. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But so other than that, what's kind of the plan for the rest of the year? Are you kind of tuning down for Christmas, or are you just focusing on recording and all that stuff? Or
Yeah, so the next couple of weeks recording the EP and getting my side of things done whilst researching who I want to do the next bit because I need to find a mixing engineer and a mastering engineer.
Mhm.
And then December is full to the brim of gigs, but they are mainly covers gigs. I've got a couple of originals ones in there, but that'll leave me pretty much up
Mhm.
to Christmas itself. And then at the moment, it looks like I might have a bit of time off to chill, and a bit of time at the start of January to chill, and then I'll be into trying this whole part-time supply teaching with making music and see how that goes.
Nice. You might find it influences your music.
Yeah, possibly. I think maybe the time pressure might help me. I'm one of those people where I work best and I get the most things done when I'm under a bit of time pressure. So I think
Mhm.
maybe having less time, strangely, might help get some things going because I know that it'll be limited.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
I,
so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where I'm kind of waiting for the student inspired album to come out, like an album that's just 100% inspired by like whatever students that you continually have, and just like the what year of school would you, or did you teach, or would you teach in this upcoming year?
So I teach, so it's year 7, usually up to year 11, but it can be beyond that. So it's from sort of age 10 to 16.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's
There's
cool.
always
That
plenty going on.
right.
Never a boring day with things like that. But yeah, I've never really written a song inspired by what like work things. I don't think anyway. Friendships and things like that
Mm,
maybe, but never work. But maybe that's just opened my mind to think about that a bit more.
right. It's like you find out that your students realize like, oh hey, teacher Nicky Phillips is writing songs about us, so let's do something stupid.
Oh, I have to hope that they never find out that I'm on the internet.
Right, fair.
That's the hope.
Yeah,
Not my old school. My old school, like the kids are really lovely.
yeah.
So that wasn't an issue. But yeah, I get the feeling that it might not go down so well in other
Fair.
places. Too.
I had somebody on that they hide the fact that they're in a band from their school. Like they do when they go to school, they dress one way and just kind of very proper, and then when they're at shows, it's like a complete 180, dyed hair, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me a story about how one time one of their students walked in wearing their band T-shirt and had no idea that their teacher was the lead singer of the band.
No way.
And I was just sitting there. I was like, how does that work? Like that, just in my head, that doesn't make sense. But it is what
I
it is.
suppose, yeah, kids, if a kid saw you sort of like in a completely different way, they find it hard enough to sort of spot teachers outside anyway, because they just don't expect them to exist outside of the
Yeah.
school. But I definitely I feel that in terms of my identity has kind of fully come back to who I am and me as a musician, taking some time away from teacher me. So I think now that that's separated and I'm going back into it as a supply role, I'm hoping I can keep my identity and not, I'm dreading I'm like, I think I'm going to throw away my old work stuff, because you dress in like this way that isn't really you, because you just want to be like, that's teacher me, and this is me, and this is music me. Yeah, I always think maybe it'd be easier if I wore like really wacky costumes on stage, and then it'd be really clear that that's just like two different people.
Two different people, not the same person, definitely not. So that's cool. But I really appreciate you joining us for the pancreatic cancer fundraiser. It's been an absolute blast chatting with you, and this is a project or an endeavor that's very near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being asked onto the podcast. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody wants to check out your music, upcoming shows, social media, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
So Instagram, I tend to post pretty much everything. So that's at Nicky Phillips UK, NICKYPHILLIPS UK. And then I have my shows listed. They do automatically go on Spotify now as well. Nice. So if there's original shows, you can just sort of go on, and if you click on shows, it'll be there. It's also on my website. And yeah, pretty much everything can be found from my Instagram bio though, because you just click that little link and it's got everything there.
Nice. Yeah, I saw the I love that new feature on Spotify where they show you shows, and then they tend to tell you which one's closest to you.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah, which is very interesting and cool. So
yeah, they had the feature for a long time, but I think it's only the sort of last couple of years where independent artists have been able to get their shows on there, and now in a much easier way, because I was really struggling last year. And they've updated it in the last sort of few months, and now my shows actually go on. Great.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. It's Spotify's really opening up for independent musicians, which is cool.
So. It is. It's doing a lot, and it's kind of helping that they've got the merch store and things like that now. Like you can kind of get everything in one place there, which is good. I know Spotify is not the best of everything, but at least it is growing and doing its part.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you all here in a bit with our next guest.